How's it going? This is JT. It's been a very long time since I've done content on CryptPad. The last time was December 7th, 2016. CryptPad presentation. I really enjoyed using this when I was in college. And I still do use it every once in a while on certain smaller projects. The CryptPad presentation, it is outdated now a little bit. They've updated the user interface quite a good bit in those last 5 years. It's very elegant now. As you can see from this screenshot from presentation, there was more of they focus very much on the function, and the function was there, but they've added a lot within the years. One of the new features that they added since then was a Kanban. This wasn't a thing. They didn't have this 5 years ago. What I would use for Kanbans was Tiger because of Trello. Let me back up though. So a Kanban is a way of organizing tasks within a Agile project management methodology. So I'm not a project manager. I'm not PMP certified. I'm not very good at explaining this, but when it comes to a lot of projects, there's usually what they call the waterfall workflow or methodology. And that's generally used with Gantt charts, and then there's a work breakdown structure. So with the waterfall, you have to do a specific task or group of tasks before you move on to the next group of tasks. And that works for certain projects and other projects. And depending on how that department or group or project is going, many times you use what's called the Agile methodology, which means that the tasks are not dependent on each other very much, at least in general. And the Kanban is a way, because the Gantt chart can be used for Agile project management, but the Kanban is I'm going to say it's a easier way to visualize what's going on within a project because of everything I'm about to go through. So I said before, I used to use Taiga, which was TAIGA.io. It was a website. I found that after hearing about Trello. I used Trello in a project a couple years ago, but Trello had a lot going on, and I thought it was pretty easy to get lost because of the nesting conversations. To me, it was similar to Slack, where if you ever made a slack.com group, and you make a channel or you're in a channel in a group, there's the opportunity at any time when someone says something, you can create a thread for that message, or you can just respond in the channel, which can be a little bit of a pain in the butt for user experience because depending on certain people, they may just simply want to just talk within the channel. That depends on the culture of that community, that group, that team, and that channel. So many times what you have is somebody will say something in the channel and somebody may respond to that message in a thread that shows on the right side, while many other people may say, well, I'm just going to respond right here. And that means everybody's being pinged every time there's a message. So there's two ways to have the conversation. So tying that back into Trello, from what I remember, I don't know if this was a thing just because of how that Trello organization, that instance that we use, whoever set that up, I don't know if that was because of them or that was just native to that application. But there were times where you could respond in a specific task, which we'll get into in just a minute. And then there was conversations within conversations, and that annoyed me. So I used to use Tiger because I thought it was very simple to the point. Coming back to the CryptPad Kanban, I'm going to own my bias right now. I think it's awesome. Not just because it's CryptPad and because I don't need to create an account to have it, but because it does everything that I would need my Kanban to do. All right. So let's get into what's actually on the screen. So with a Kanban, we're going to start with the columns, and hoping that you may have seen all of this already. I'm going to get rid of that. So what you have here, you got a Kanban and you have columns for the status of each individual says item here, but we would call it a task or a card. And depending on what's going on at any time, let's say something changes, you just move it on over. Now, going into the task. Now, let's stick with columns real quick. I'm gonna go through this as if I was making a Kanban for someone's website. All right. I was thinking about ideas that I could use, but this seemed to be the one that could help you learn a little bit and would make sense to a lot of people, to the most people out of all the ideas I came up with. So we have the columns, got to do, in progress, done. I usually like to add another one. And since they have to do, in progress, done, I'm going to say assigned. And I'm going to get rid of this for now. And I don't need this, because if that shows up with somebody else, then I have other problems somehow. And I'm going to have I don't need this. Yes, I'm very sure. Let's make this review. So I'm going to move this over here for review. All right. So here's how this works. You have your item or your task. Let's say my task here is determine a domain name, if I can spell it right. So here you have information. You can put the title in for the task or the card or item. That's what CryptPad is calling it. And content, you could put in whatever you want. So determine top level domain, TLD.com, .net, I don't know, music. That's a thing. And then there's the tags. So with tags, this is a way to help you organize tasks within your Kanban. This brings me to one of the two things that I think are somewhat missing in the CryptPad Kanban. So over here, I'm going to put a name here. Just going to put me. And the reason I'm doing this is many times, usually you have some assignee option. They don't have that here. That's not a bad thing. That's the purpose of, you can use the tags for the same way. As you can see, there's filter by tag. So there's already a way to make up for that. I usually like to keep those separate, but it doesn't matter. There's a way to do that. So just a small qualm, just going along with me owning that I'm very much biased for CryptPad, anything, just about. So, me, choose a color, and that can make it, if once there's a bunch of stuff going on, it's easier to look at it instead of having to use me, the name, which could be another way of deciding or figuring out who's in charge of what, who's doing what. All right. The other thing, I'm going to cover this now. The other thing I wish there was an option to have a chat message that was assigned directly to the card or the task. Again, that's something that can easily be changed by doing that in here. You can always compensate by typing, the date and who you are. And then, there's that. An issue with that could be, depending on what's going on with certain things, if you don't have the ability to mess with certain rights and privileges, some of that stuff can get moved, and then that's where you're going to end up wanting to use this. Because sometimes when you work with certain people, of course, you want to be able to have proof on paper, right? But again, two small things, and those are ways that you can deal with that. So let's go back to this. So to do, you got to determine the domain name. Above that, hosting provider. It's another task. Maybe, I don't know. That's good enough for now. And of course, once you get something, you can just move it over. Everything's drag and drop. So WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get. Everything is very straightforward and to the point. If something gets assigned to somebody, it's got a name on it. So like say it's in progress, and decided on example.com. Made a decision, someone's going to review it, and then once something is done. Very simple, very straightforward and to the point. There's not much else to it. What makes this great, again, is the ability to visualize everything that's going on easily. Let's see if I'll just tinker around and start throwing stuff up there. I'll say this is me. I'll mess with show the filter a bit. Design site. Right. I don't want to mess with the column. I want to choose decide on website builder, CMS. See, not much to it more than that. And I can even choose more than one. And in case you've never messed with CryptPad at all, same basis options, you can create a new one. There's the snapshots, and they are snapshots just as much as for anyone who deals with web hosting, web design, web development. It is a specific file. Now, if you want to pull certain parts from the backup, what you would need to do is export it to a JSON file, and then you can go back and forth and import from there. You'd have to get to it, back it up, and then come back to it, to the other one to import it. Or if there's something you want to go back to an older one, you could export what you have now, go to the snapshot, restore that, and then you can import that JSON or edit however you like. Make a copy, move the trash, properties, which I don't have because I don't create an account. I don't need to. There's not much else to it. Again, just two little qualms. This is good for anybody, for a good to-do task manager. If you need something and if you need something to deal with your task, bunch of stuff going on in a project or a team, this could be a good option for you. And of course, you have the share options for edit, view. So everybody has access that they need. You can embed it with the iframe. Just don't forget to add a title attribute in there for user experience and accessibility purposes, right? And the chat is in there. Everything here is very straightforward to the point. I think I've covered everything that would need to be covered in regards to using the Kanban. If you have questions in regards to any of this stuff, ways to do it, maybe you want me to use the Kanban to build out tasks for a certain topic. Since I've been doing a lot of music, maybe for releasing a music album along with the marketing and promotion, or something like PC building, something, let me know in the comments below. As you'll probably see, if you look at my history of videos, this isn't the type of video I make very often. I'd usually make a lot of stuff related to music and open source software and Linux. But, if the demand is there, every once in a while, I'll make something to try to share some knowledge however I feel I can do that best. And I'll put in all the links to all the different applications and competitors that I was talking about earlier in the description below. The Tiger, Trello. I didn't say anything about, the Monday and what's the other one? Basecamp and Asana. I don't care for those. Those are meant to be for a lot of other stuff. And I think I forgot to mention sprints. I think I said something about it. Yes, I mentioned names versus tags, the chat option, and sprints. Sprints are basically similar to the waterfall methodology and Gantt charts. If you have a group of tasks that need to be completed by a certain amount of time so they're connected together, that's not specifically shown here and visualized in any fancy way. However, again, with the filters, you can always use tags and color coding in order to do that. And as you already saw earlier, you can click and you choose multiple filters at once. So I would say, as is, this does everything that you would need, especially if you're the only person using it. Everything's already there. You can edit the content within each task as you want, edit, and then whatever you want to do once something is done, no issue. Everything's done. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm not going to talk about the JSON file. You open it, it's a JSON file. Everything's pretty straightforward, simple to the point. If you're not comfortable editing a JSON file, don't mess with it. Export it, save it, do that every once in a while, just because you never know when something might happen to something and you may need that information. Okay? So, you got any questions, comments below? Thanks for your time. Thanks for checking out the video. If you like it, let me know if there's anything that I could have explained more to help you better understand how this could apply to you, your workflow, your projects, etc. Go live lively.